Hey guys, okay, I'll bring us in. I'm bringing us in this week. Hey, everyone. We're back with another um, great Thursday today. We're back with our Ignite Her team, and we have a wonderful, wonderful special guest with us today, Liz Hauser from KL Hauser Leadership Development Program. So, how are you ladies doing today? We're all coming in from different parts of the world, which is always super interesting and amazing.
Great. So thank you so
Oh,
much for having me on here. I'm actually in amazing and beautiful Las Vegas right now.
Oh, wonderful. We love a Vegas. What
and
about you,
I
Simone?
am coming to you from the Bahamas in the beautiful sunny Nassau, Bahamas today. So I'm so glad that we could be here and talk to Liz all about leadership development and coaching, and finding the right team for your business. So Liz, thank you so much for being here with us. We so appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
Liz, let's get started with the questions. So tell us, how does a company typically assess candidates when they are trying to find the right ones to align with the values and mission during the hiring process?
Okay, so this is a great question because we find in our line of work that a lot of people will hire out of desperation. Somebody got let go, somebody because somebody wasn't showing up, and they're like, "We have to fill this spot. Let's just get somebody that's breathing." We've all been there. And what that does is it costs you a lot more time and money because you're not being diligent to hire the right person. So we always have our clients make sure that they know what their core values are, what's your mission, and what's your vision. And once you know that, then you can align your culture. So I love we this process. We do a three interview process, and I know that probably sounds daunting, but it actually is not that intensive. It basically just helps cover all the bases to make sure that when you're hiring somebody, you know that they align with your core values, with your business and mission. So I'd love to share that with you because this is really impactful and anybody can like implement it right away. So the first interview, this is typical for what most people do, but you're basically asking them questions to see how they align with your culture. And keep in mind, you need to know what your culture, what you want it to look like, and how you're developing it. Some people might be starting from scratch, so taking that time to know ahead of time, asking questions, that are important. Do you feel, how do you see yourself fitting into this type of fast-paced environment, or do you consider yourself to be team focused, or are you more like just give me a task and I'll do it? And it's not so much of you don't want people to feel like I have to say the right answer. You're kind of just getting the feel for their character and if it aligns with you. Now, if after answering those questions, you feel like okay, I feel comfortable with this person, and don't feel bad if you don't feel comfortable with that person if they've not answered questions well. Like one of the questions that we ask is, it for us, it's really important that we help our clients meet their personal, professional, and financial goals. What kind of goals do you have? If they say, I don't really have any goals, that's kind of a red flag that they're probably not a good fit. And it's okay after that to be like, okay, thank you for your time and move on. But if they do seem a good fit, then the second interview is a skills test interview. This can be really simple where you just give them a real simple task that aligns, that's something along the lines of what they will be doing and if they work for you. And that's to see that what they're saying that they can do, they can actually do. Just you can keep it real simple. And then the third one is this one's the most impactful because this is the part that we often skip. And it's you want to make sure that they're aligned with your core values. This is so important because if they aren't, there's not going to be any connection or mesh there. So you actually share your core values with them the day ahead, and then the next day you have them actually create a core values presentation. It just needs to be like
Mm.
5 minutes or 5-10 minutes. Set that time so that they meet that time and that, if they go 20 minutes, they're not listening and they're going way too long. And so what they need to share with you is how do you how do you align with each of these core values? And you're going to be able to tell in their sincerity, if they do align with it, and that's going to be help you know if this is a good fit or not. There's many people that will go great through the first 2 sessions, and then that third interview, you're like, this person doesn't know. And so if you can be diligent to cut people off if they don't align, you're going to save yourself so much heartache and so much time just by doing that, because then you start to pour into people that aren't a good fit from the beginning. You wasted 3 months training them, and then they're like, I don't like it here. And you're like, it's not going to start from scratch. So that's just a good starting point for the hiring process.
Yeah, one thing I was going to pull out of what you were saying, Liz, and first of all, those are excellent points, is, that third interview, I don't think I've ever experienced it, but now that you've said it, just having interviews solely focused on your company's core values, that I can see that being a game changer, even in my business, right? We all have our respective areas. But one thing I think it helps with, it'll help easily weed people out, right? Those who are really committed to, building, your business or whatever you guys are, your current mission is. But also, it's kind of a truth teller. Like, people can really prepare for that first interview, all the behavior and repercussions, even the second, but that last one is like the truth serum, and you can really see, people are invested long term, or they're just looking for a quick job or something like that. And I'm sure we've all had those people.
It's true. It's one of the things that I tend to notice even within my business, like the people who are really interested in seeing the business grow, the difference between those who are there just to work and just collect a check. And you really want to have that person who's really interested in seeing your business go on for longevity, because they have to be able to see themselves in your business, right? And so the key things that you mentioned through that interview process, you can really say, is that person here to really help or add to the organization, or is that person really looking to take from the organization? And that's really important when you're trying to find, especially certain positions in the company that are going to be really key for development and growth. And so, what do you find that are some great strategies or techniques that you've used in the past to ensure that team members are aligned with the real values of the company?
Great question. I love what you mentioned, Nakia, truth serum. That's totally right.
Yeah.
When people have to present and share from their heart, you're going to be able to tell, are they excited about these core values or not? And we've had values that we're not excited about, and it comes out when you're like, I don't know if I really align with that. But
that's right.
yeah, so Simone, that's a great question. One of the things that we really like to encourage, and it really doesn't take much time, but it's just taking the first 5, maybe 10 minutes max of your morning together with your team and doing you can call it whatever you want. Basically, it's to get them in a winning mindset. Like, let's talk about the wins. We're not going to talk about like the things that didn't get done yesterday. Let's talk about the wins. And it's kind of like starting your day with Thanksgiving, like just being thankful. Like, okay, I got a big day ahead, but what am I thankful for? What went well? And when you can do that and pump your team up, because they're all coming from, they've just had a fight with their spouse on the way, or they had terrible traffic, or they woke up like whatever. But when they get there, it's like, okay, we're here. Let's all come together. We're winning. Let's win together. What kind of a rah-rah. So that could even just be like 5 minutes. The other thing is you want to really set the stage. When you're doing the interview process, you're setting the stage for what your core values are. Don't just leave it in the interview room. Bring it out and talk about it every day, throughout your day, reminding people, this is why we're doing what we're doing. And that's part of like, you can share wins from customers. Like, we got this really great customer story. Like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what, those are the type of things that we're doing this for. That's why we do it. Being careful not to have team meetings that just go on and on and on. Like, be intentional. people want to know that you value their time and that when they come to a team meeting, there's a purpose to it. So keeping it brief and specific is, I think, is super valuable. We've all been in meetings that just are so unnecessary.
Going forever.
Yeah, use the to be like, where are we at? Where do we need to go? What do we need to do right now? And like, boom, go out and do it. So if you can keep those brief, that helps, and just be touching in with your team members.
Right. I
Cool.
think to before you jump in, Simone, to your point, that's even a quality of a good leader, right? Is knowing what the team needs, what the needs and anticipations are of the team. So I used to hate in my former life, I used to work for the government, the federal government. And we used to hate going to those meetings just to have a meeting. There was really no mission, nothing to really accomplish, but they're just used to that standing weekly meeting, right? And it would just really be almost a complete waste of everybody's time, and we could be focused on something else. So that is something we all experience, and no one really likes. So it's a very valid point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think that I spend enough time in our meetings talking about how great or what we have been able to accomplish. Like we have a running planner, and we tend to touch everything that we have on our agenda list. Like we say, okay, we have to touch this, da, 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 da. And then we talk about what we've done to try and address the problem. But there are like very few times do we start out by saying, hey guys, let's give a round of applause for this person or that person who was able to accomplish this week, or yay for our, because right now we're going through our 10-year anniversary in one of the businesses that I own, and we're like pushing how we're going to get this out there for 10 years. But I really wanted to see a lot more, I guess, just more love for that we made it to 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great option to say, hey, let's give the credit where credit is due in the beginning of the meeting and get everybody riled up and excited about why it's important to focus on these missions and our goals and our 10-year anniversary. And then maybe we'll get a lot more action and reaction. And that really leads into my next question about how we're measuring and evaluating our team's focus on giving back into the company, and how well they might be excited about what they're doing in their jobs and their positions. Like, how do we look at that? What is a key way for us to be able to measure their activity or their focus when it comes to the core values of the business and what we should be focusing on?
Great question. So we recommend doing one-on-one meetings that are just like 15 minutes every 2 weeks. This is super powerful because, one, it lets you check in with your team members. Because if there's a problem, they're usually not going to always come to you, and you don't want to find out about it 1 or 2 months later, right? When it's like really big. It lets you check in with them, and it also allows you to hold them accountable to say what their goals are, the things that you've asked them to do, as well as holding them accountable to your core values. So one of the things that you should be doing in these one-on-one meetings is just kind of checking in with each of those core values. So, is what you're doing, is it aligning with this core value? And what's so great about having those core values is it's not you attacking them, because sometimes you feel attacked when you get critiqued, right? It's you going, hey, remember, we've got these core values. And when you keep showing up late, you're actually not being dependable like one of our core values is. And because you're not dependable, we're not showing up well for our customers. And we tell them that we're always dependable for them. And so just kind of wrapping it into that. So then it doesn't feel like this attack on, I don't like what you're doing. Instead, it's like, this is our core values. This is how we measure ourselves. So using that to measure and using that in your disciplinary measurements as well, and holding people need to be held accountable. I don't know about you, but like I have to be held accountable. I'm my worst at holding myself accountable. But if I know somebody else holding me accountable, you better believe I'm going to show up well. And when you don't, you need to follow through and be consistent with each of your team members, so that they know that you mean business when you set those standards.
Oh, I thought we froze, but That's a very good and valid point, and it even caused me to pause and think about how am I interacting with my team, right? Because even as business owners, we're held accountable not only just by our clients but also by our team, right? So it's not just them being held under a microscope. We're always pointing the finger. We hold a lot of the burden too a lot of times when things don't work out amongst our teams and our staff. So very relevant. Appreciate that reminder.
We actually ran an exercise this year for the first time. We did peer reviews, and we let every team member review each other. Like everybody had a Rubik system to go by and rate team members and how responsive. And it was like a whole plethora of questions on what you got. And it was very interesting once we met with each person about the review to explain what the other team members had to say about them, how quickly they held the mirror up and were like, I have to hold my hand up because I don't do this or I haven't done that. And it really helped to put people in perspective. But then because we don't have those every 2 weeks meetings, people revert right back to what they were doing before they, started saying, yes, I need to go and fix this or I need to fix that. So I think that's a great option for companies to really have those 2-week meetings singly with each person. And then you're able to say, hey, we're slacking still in this area, tidy up. And then you can record that information and you can have that as a way to review them later on in the year, so that if they still didn't fix themselves, then you have a reason to say, hey, maybe our company is not the best place for you, and you may not align with what we value the most. And at my company, I value being able to exceed the expectations of our clients. That is what our core mission is, to exceed the expectation of our clients. And to do that, you do have to be present. You do have to be on time. And you certainly have to be willing and able to assist when it's necessary. So all great things. Great points, Liz. Also, there's a role that I think performance evaluations play within the organization, like you mentioned. Do you find that there are key times in the year that you really should be looking at these performance evaluations, or do you wait to the end of the year to say, hey, I've evaluated your performance and here's what we found?
So I think what you're saying is, because most companies, they do like an annual evaluation. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
That's a really great question. I really think, I don't know. I just think like doing those just simple check-in evaluations every 2 weeks is way more powerful than getting an evaluation once a year. And I like what you said, Simone. It's so important to, when you're checking in with them every 2 weeks, we're holding them accountable. Okay, remember we talked about this last week. How's that going? And what that does is it helps them either see what they're still not focused on, or it helps them to recognize the wins. You're like, okay, I am, you know what? Last time we talked about how I'm not asking, enough questions and seeking help. But this past week, I actually sought help 3 different times, and so just having those little wins is really, really important as well. So I would say it kind of don't focus so much on the annual evaluations. And if people want to do that for like raises and things like that, you certainly can. But it's going to be a lot more powerful and impactful if you do those mini evaluations every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was going to say, I agree with that. I can see how, just from my experience on the other end, as one of those people that had to do annual evals, everybody hates them. You may have a running like Google Note just from the year where you put your accomplishments. It's very templated and very inauthentic. But I think it's much more valuable to our companies and to our teams when, like Liz said, you have those shorter touch points. And I think our staff really appreciate it because they can feel that, you're authentic and really wanting to get that open feedback loop from, us as their leadership or vice versa. But they also have the opportunity to make changes, right? Like if they have a really rough quarter, they have an opportunity to make those iterative changes for the next evaluation that may be coming in the next couple weeks or a few months versus every year, and they have their own growth and they can reach their own development goal within the company. So I think that's super critical.
I also think one key thing about development when you're trying to grow your business is also having those tools at your disposal for your employees, so you know what's missing. When you have those conversations, you can say, okay, this is a position that might need to be filled, or things that you may have missed in your business that you're not addressing. And I feel like once you have those conversations, you know where you need to grow in, or what aspects you need to fulfill more or get more support. So, I mean, Liz, do you have any advice when it comes to plugging the right positions or finding the right persons to fill the voids within your company, and then looking at growth as a goal at the end of every year to scale your business from one level to the next, or even scale your staff complement?
Mm.
That was a whole lot put into one question.
Yeah.
How do you fill certain positions correctly? I would say, just like how I mentioned, if you were more diligent in that hiring process to see what their skills are, if they're aligned with your culture and your core values, keep in mind, I always think you can't train a bad attitude. Like, you can't train somebody to have a good attitude, but you can always train somebody to learn new skills. And so I always like to keep that in mind. If a person may not have all the skills that they need, but if they have a good attitude and they're willing to learn, then I'm more willing to hire them on, versus if they have XYZ experience and they just are kind of like, yeah, I'm just showing up for the paycheck or whatever, or maybe they've quit a lot of jobs recently, like that's kind of a red flag there. So yeah, I think their willingness to learn and adapt is helpful, and also to be willing to work as a team, I think is really powerful. And remind me of the second part of your question. I don't know if I answered
The
that.
second part of my question is, when you know when it's time to hire somebody for a position, if you're scaling your business, when you know it's time, hey, now we need to add more people to the team in order for us to do more or to excel beyond where we are today.
Great question. I'm not sure of the numbers specifically, but because you have to make sure that you can also feed into that position as far as making enough income. However, there is that fine tune of, you want to make sure that you can pay for that person to hire on, but you also don't want to wait until, like, I'm going to wait until I have all the money I need, because then you're still not growing. So finding that sweet spot for you and mapping out what is it that I need to make in order to be able to hire this person on, and then making that happen, whether it's, increasing products being sold so that you can start to have the income that's available to hire somebody on. But it could also be, just starting out hiring somebody part-time, with the expectation that they'll go full-time once the more income starts coming in. So I think every business is a little bit different working out the numbers.
Can you just so do you see that there are any challenges that you've experienced or you faced through this hiring process and team building that kind of don't align with what people expect when trying to find persons who are going to be within the company? Anything that you think that is going to be an issue for companies and to watch out for?
Um, there are some specific questions that I come up with to encourage business owners to ask, that will, just even like just kind of a get to know you. It could be, even as simple as, did the person show up on time to the interview? That's a red flag. If they don't, they're not valuing your time right away. And I would say know what's important to you. Like, know what your standards are. And if they don't meet that, then it is perfectly okay to end an interview early. You don't have to be rude about it, and just be like, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll get back to you later, or I'm not sure this is a good fit. And being okay with that. Like, don't worry about offending people. Like, your time is valuable and so is theirs. So that if you can see right away that they're not aligned with your standards, by whether how they dress or how they act or the responses you're getting. If setting goals is important to you and they don't have any goals, and like I mentioned before, then that's a red flag that that's not a good fit. Yeah, so just coming up with a list of, 5 to 10 questions that kind of help you understand what their character is, and get some, as Nikki said, get some truth serum out of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, just in my experience, it's so funny how the kind of questions that most business owners ask are just very basic questions that anybody could kind of figure out. I think this is the answer you want, so I'm going to answer it. But when you are in an interview that they ask real genuine questions, I know right away, I'm like, okay, this is a company that I know I can align with because they're asking these types of questions, and it's going to, they really care about who I am. So don't be afraid to ask those deeper questions. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
having those questions fit along with your mission. So first asking yourself, what are those things? What are our key things? What are our mission? What are our goals? What do we stand for? Who are we as a company? Where do we want to go? If you're a company and you haven't started even writing those things down, then it's really hard for you to be able to express it to your staff,
Mhm.
or even get them aligned with it. So I think you're right. What challenge is not having the right questions, not knowing what to ask because you haven't asked those right questions to yourself first. And so, yeah, very key. And knowing what you stand for and making sure the person who you hire also is aligned with what that is. So that's a great, great,
Mhm.
great point, Liz. So
Yeah.
really, Liz, we are almost near the end, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to just plug another point in for build team building and finding great leaders within your team and organization. So if you have anything else to give us, some gems, some nuggets that we should take home and think about, go ahead and let us know.
Yes.
Right. Oh, go ahead, Nakia.
Yeah, and I was going to say also just, let folks know, if you have any current offerings available, feel free to let them know that as well, or where to find you,
Absolutely, and how to
especially
find you.
online.
All right. Um, I would say I think a lot of people miss in their business finding the leaders within. And
Mm,
oftentimes you wait for a position to open up. Okay, manager position just opened up. Um, okay, Joe, you're now the new manager. And then he gets in and he's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. You haven't trained him or anything.
mm,
And so, what we like to encourage business owners to do is train your future leaders now. Like, give them opportunities to help lead meetings, give them opportunities to help lead projects. And that way they don't feel like they're just being thrown into the fire and good luck. And being there with them to answer questions, but giving them those opportunities so that when the time comes for them to go into that position, they're more confident. So that's really valuable. And so one of the ways that you're going to find out who your leaders are is from your one-on-one meetings. One of the most powerful things you can do is to help your team members map out what their goals are, their personal, professional, and financial goals. And this means like taking a longer meeting, like it might even be like take them out to coffee or something, or you spend an hour to find out what their goals are, and then find out how can you help them with their goals. And some of them are personal, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. Cool, and that way you can hold them
mhm.
accountable to working out and things like that. And other things you're gonna find that align with your business that can be like, oh, I didn't know that you wanted to um, whatever I'm trying to think of. I didn't know that you wanted to lead a team. Awesome. Well, here's some things, some ways that we can do that. Or if they express to you, gosh, I'd really like to be able to do this or that and get paid this much. Okay, well, the position that you're in right now doesn't allow for that. So I'm glad to know that. But here's another position that might give you a little bit more ability for that. And then just helping them plan those different steps. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
I
getting to
love
know what
that.
their goals are. We always say this, when you show that you're interested in their goals, they're going to be interested in helping you reach your goals. when they can see that by working with you, they're going to attain and reach their goals, they're going to be so much more interested and motivated to show up and help you reach your goals in your business. They want to grow with you, and by growing with you, it helps your business grow as well. So it's a win-win.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Those are wonderful, wonderful final words. So, how can our visitors and our audience find you, Liz?
Well, they can go to, they can always reach out to me at Liz, I'm sorry, Liz at calhouserleadership.com, or they can go to calhouserleadership.com as well and see what we have there. But would love to connect with anybody. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. So if you have any questions or if you want to do a free consultation, I would be happy to do that for you.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you so much, Liz, for your time. We really appreciate it. It was a great, great, great show. We're happy that you came into our IPW wheelhouse, and we will certainly have another opportunity to talk to you more about leadership and team building very soon. So,
Awesome.
Yes,
ladies,
thank you
from
again,
us
Liz.
from
Awesome.
International Power, yes, from us from International Powerful Women until next Thursday, we hope that you are doing great in business, and we look forward to seeing you right here on Thursday during our slots for another edition of International Powerful Women, please.
Thank you.